So I finished my workout this morning, drinking a cup of coffee, read my Bible, and I wanted to share with you something that I've learned over the last 6 years. I find it could be valuable to you if you're in business, if you're a loan officer, if you're a real estate agent, or if you are just a human being. I think this is a very valuable topic, and I wanted to share with you this morning. And it's the fact that we're all going to go through seasons in life where maybe things aren't going our way. Maybe you're struggling right now financially. Maybe you're struggling physically. Maybe that life, if you look around, doesn't look so fruitful, right? And in these seasons, it's very difficult to have vision, to think about what the future can look like, because Hermosi says that when you're struggling to make the bills, pay the bills, it's difficult to have a vision, because all you're thinking about is, how am I going to pay this? How am I going to pay this? How am I going to get out of this, right? Now, the opposite can also happen when you're going through a good season, highs of the highs, when things are going your way in business, when you're getting a lot of leads, when you're putting people in escrow, if you're a real estate agent or a loan officer, when things are going great for you, when it feels like life is just amazing. And in both of these seasons, there's great lessons that we can learn from my personal experience from going through both seasons. There's a lot of knowledge and wisdom that I've been able to learn, and I want to share with you this morning. When you're in a high, when things are going good, when your bank account is healthy, when you're healthy, when physically you feel like you are going on a run and things are going your way and you're winning, we can oftentimes be overly confident, and we can forget to humble ourselves, to know that just like seasons in the year, there's summers, but then there's winter. Winter will come, meaning that like we can't expect good times to last forever, and they actually shouldn't last forever, because if you think about it, me and you, we grow and learn the most through those difficult seasons, because those seasons that get put in front of us, God puts them in front of us because the goal of it is to persevere, because through perseverance you grow. And so in the seasons when things are going great, when the bank account is healthy, when you're getting clients, when your business is booming, we have to remember to humble ourselves, because in this season, oftentimes we think we're a lot better than we really are. We're overly confident. We place bets that are above what normally we would, place on. And so the seasons are very important because it can cause us to fall sooner than, that time should come. What do I mean? Well, sometimes our business should be more prosperous longer than it is. Why? Because, if we are wise enough to know that in a season when things are going good, we still have a lot of room for improvement. We're not as good as we think we are. We still humble ourselves and look for mentorship, for guidance. We don't allow ourselves to feel like, we are on top of the world. We walk with our chest up and like we know everything. You'll be wise enough to get counsel on how to guide yourself through this season of a new level, right? Because you don't know. You think you know because you got there. But in order to succeed in that level, you will need help. You will need guidance. You will need mentorship. And so this is a very important season for us to really look around and say, hey, who can help me through this season that I've never been in? And who can counsel me to make sure that I don't waste this opportunity in this season that is being very prosperous to us. So humble yourself. The gospel teaches us that God favors the humble. And in times when your bank account is healthy, when things are going good, when you got that job, when you have your pipeline full, you have your brick and mortar business full of clients, you can forget that it wasn't you that got you those clients. It was our Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ. So give the glory to Him. And then the opposite can also happen when things aren't going so good, and you're in a hole, you're in the mud. I've been there. I've been there. In 2023, our Ford Explorer, which is our family vehicle, got repossessed in front of my mother-in-law's house. You can imagine how embarrassing that was. That year, we experienced the lowest of the lowest financially. And there's a lot of lessons that I learned that season. And one of them is that during a season like that, when your bank account maybe isn't the healthiest, maybe your relationships are struggling, maybe you just got fired, maybe if you're a real estate or loan officer, maybe you're not getting the leads that you normally get, your pipeline is empty, and you don't know when your next paycheck's gonna come. In those seasons, have grace for yourself. Learn to have grace for yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself, because in those seasons, it feels like an eternity to be able to get out of the mud, to be able to get out of this situation. But, I always remember Romans 8:18, and the current struggles that we're going through is nothing compared to the glory that's yet to come, that the Lord has in store for me and you. And always remind yourself that those seasons are to build your character, to persevere, because through perseverance, remember, we grow. And in those seasons, have grace for yourself. Don't isolate yourself, because that's what the flesh is going to want to do. The flesh, this is going to want to isolate ourselves, because we don't want to be around people, because we don't want them to ask, hey, how's business going? You don't want them to ask, hey, how's life going? Because you don't want to admit that you're not doing so well. And when we isolate ourselves, that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants you isolated. He doesn't want you to be around people, because he knows that the moment that you're around people, you'll forget about your troubles, and you'll start to interact, and you want to be around people that are going to speak life into you. You want to speak about your issues and problems to people that you trust. That's why it's so important to have a wise counsel. Proverbs in the gospel reminds us, it's important to have a wise counsel, a counsel of wise men or women that can help you in these seasons, right? And not based on their own understanding, but based on the understanding of the gospel. And so in this season, the important part is, one is learn the lessons during the season. Know what lessons you need to be taught, because obviously there's something that got you in that hole, in that mud, right? And what you want wisdom, meaning the wisdom to not get yourself in that same exact hole, mud, again in the future. You don't want that. And seek counsel. Know that this too shall pass. And it's a lot harder to have that mindset in the moment. But if there's one thing that I can leave you with, if you're in that season right now and your business is not as prosperous as you wish it would be, and you're in the mud, is there are certain things in life that give us a positive, and there's other things in life that give us a negative. I'll explain. Maybe there's certain things that you don't like doing, and they drain your energy. They put you in a bad mood. And there's other things that when you do, they give you energy. They make you smile. They give you a positive in life. And so in these seasons, it's harder to do those positive things because we don't have the energy and we don't feel like doing them. But we know that if we do them, they're going to add a positive to us. So in these seasons, it's more important to know, one, what adds a positive to your life, what gives you energy, and two, is to have the discipline and accountability to do those things, because you know that they're going to serve you. And so for me, those things have always been waking up early before the sun is up, going to the gym, even if I just go and do a little bit of cardio, a little bit of weightlifting, and read the gospel. Every morning when I do those things, they add a positive to my day. And so for you, find those things that are going to add a positive. Be very careful on what you listen to during those seasons, especially. Maybe this is not the right time to start listening to negative things. Like put some gospel music in the morning. Put some motivational, inspirational videos in the morning. Allow others to speak life into you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is some of the lessons that I've learned over the last 6 years going through both seasons. And just remember that this too shall pass. And hopefully everybody has a good day. Peace.